Hey guys, welcome to a new vlog. As you can tell from the switch up of the scenery, we're here in a slightly different environment than usual. I've been filming these little chats with you in my greenhouse for a while now. It's become a bit of a tradition here on my channel. However, it is super rainy out today and I just know that greenhouse is going to be very, very humid. So I'm going to do my little chat with you in my bedroom here, and then we'll venture outside a little bit and brave the rain. Hopefully it'll take a quick pause for us to gather some flowers and do some fun things today. This is a time of year where all of my favorite flowers start to come out, and we've got peonies, as I mentioned in the last video. They're really coming to life, and the Sarah Bernhardts here are finally fully in bloom, so that's exciting. And then we also have roses that are finally starting to bloom, and there's one right in the back right now that has 2 blooms on it, or at least as of yesterday it did. But as you guys will remember, if you've watched my previous videos, we are always battling deer here and they love roses. So there is a high chance that they came overnight and snatched them. So let's hope that they didn't. If they did, good for them. I'm glad they got a snack. But like I've said before, I'm hoping to move all of my roses into the critter fence, and I actually just mowed the critter fence finally for the first time this year. It was majorly overgrown and we're battling constant problems. Our first mower had a problem, couldn't be used. And then we got a second mower, which I really loved because it was electric and had rechargeable batteries, which is just so nice and really helpful in today's economic climate with how much gas is. And it had this button on the handle that you could press down that would activate this sort of self-propulsion mechanism. So it would kind of drive for you by itself, which was really nice. Unfortunately, that mechanism stopped working. So I've been battling a lot of mower issues. We do have a riding lawnmower as well, but unfortunately it cannot fit back there in the critter fence. So all that to say, the critter fence area is finally mowed, which means that I can resume my transplanting activity and keep moving the rest of our roses that live in the backyard into the critter fence to protect them from very snackish deer. Now that the roses are starting to bloom, I cannot wait to get into a whole bunch of different recipes, maybe some rose syrup. We could do body care products. There's just so many amazing things to do with roses. And of course, so many beautiful flower arrangements that we can make. And I saw the cover of Victoria magazine, which is one of my all-time favorite magazines, and I think it was their most recent issue. It had a gorgeous cover with a flower pot and then some like peonies and roses inside of it, and I kind of wanted to recreate something that looks similar. I will show you that cover so that you guys can see the vision and the inspiration behind the arrangement that I'm going to try to do. And honestly, I think their most recent issue is my favorite issue they've ever put out since I've been subscribed to that magazine. There's so much gorgeous photography in it. There's gorgeous garden inspiration. And I loved it so much, so I went to a local bookstore and picked up another copy of it because I know I'm going to want to cut out some of those images and either do some scrapbooking or put them up on a mood board. But I didn't want to ruin, the original story either. So I wanted to have 2 copies, one that I could play with and one that I could kind of archive and keep, as I tend to do with magazines, where I like to collect them and look back before a season is coming to get some inspiration. All right, and so I wanted to pivot now and just briefly talk about the state of my ankle/foot. As you guys might recall, I was in a boot for a couple of weeks and I just went back to the podiatrist. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of progress being made there. It's just been chronically swollen and in a decent amount of pain, nothing too severe, but very achy and painful to touch. So we did transition out of the boot because the boot was kind of hurting my knee and my hip. And ultimately she said she doesn't like to keep people in a boot for too long because it can weaken the muscle of the foot, which makes sense. So I have transitioned to a brace that's a lace-up brace, which means that I get to wear mostly cute shoes again. I get to wear my rain boots. I get to wear, sneakers and things without having to have that clunky boot on. So overall, I consider that an upgrade, and I do have an appointment scheduled to get an x-ray. I think I mentioned before that I'd previously had an x-ray and all looked good, but she did want to do another check now that it's been a couple of years, just to make sure that everything still looks good. So I'll keep you guys updated on that front. Not that it's super interesting and that you guys want to know this, but yeah, I just wanted to let you know that I'm out of the clunky boot. And I'm hoping I can get a little bit of footage of the progress in the duck house to include here in this video for you guys. My husband excitingly just finished the structure of the roof, and I did complete the second coat on the frame. So all I have left is to paint the roof, and then we have to put kind of the screens and the hardware and the metal part of the roof on top of the frame. We've made a lot of progress there. Ultimately, it's been a larger project than I think what we ever originally anticipated, but we are starting to see the distant light at the end of the tunnel coming nearer, and I cannot wait for the ducks to get to experience their new home. Also, now that the cam boot is gone and I have this handy lace-up ankle brace that I can put a regular shoe on and kind of walk freely, and once again, that means that I can resume working on filling up the deep garden bed that I have in the back of my critter fence with soil, which is really exciting. I cannot wait to be done with that. I feel like that is just one of the projects that keeps lingering and lingering, as well, let's be honest, I have several of those, but I am excited to get that finally done. So for today, I want to see if we can quickly run outside because it looks like the rain has paused for now, and I want to gather some flowers, and let's see if we can recreate something closely, loosely inspired by that arrangement I mentioned on the cover of that magazine. And then I want to do a recipe, another recipe from Instagram, shocker, that I found, and, or at least I think we'll do that recipe. I also just got a new baking book. I don't entirely remember what it's called, but it is maybe Cakes by Lucie. It is Lucie, the baker from New York City. I'm obsessed with her work. I love her Instagram page. She decorates cakes with the most gorgeous, whimsical flowers, and so we might do a recipe from her, we might do the Instagram recipe. And before we transition off to do that, I do just want to sign off of this chat here with a huge thank you to the new subscribers and all of the lovely, kind people that have left comments on my videos recently. I see your comments, they make my day. Honestly, they make my week. So thank you so much, and I love you guys. You are the best, and I hope that you are having the best day, week, month, all of it. And yeah, let's go do some gathering and exploring and creating together. Okay, so I just went and grabbed the magazine that I was referring to earlier in our chat, and I just wanted to show you what the cover looks like. Hopefully there's not too much of a glare here. So this is Victoria magazine. I think I've mentioned this magazine early on in a previous video, and it is my absolute favorite magazine out there in production, and I am a subscriber, and this is the May-June issue, and I really think that this is one of the most stunning covers I've ever seen on a magazine. I'm obsessed with how gorgeous this is. It's just elegant, and everything about it is so idyllic. I love it. So, and not to mention all of the content inside of it is equally amazing, and highly recommend, if you guys like this type of thing, to go check this out. I just saw a hummingbird outside on one of the windows of our sunroom, which I'm so sad that I couldn't capture that for you guys. Maybe if I'm lucky when we go out there, we'll see him again. Hummingbirds are my favorite animal, so that was awesome. Okay, so anyway, back on topic. So this cover is just stunning, and I'll go ahead and move in a bit closer so you can see what I'm talking about. So look at this absolutely stunning floral arrangement right here, and this adorable piece of cake. This looks to be like it's in some kind of antique pot, and then we've got peonies. This looks like my favorite Sarah Bernhardt variety, and we've got these mini roses. The goal is to try to replicate something similar to this, and I will not have the exact same roses. Obviously, I don't have many roses, but we do have a couple that we might be able to find that are in bloom right now, assuming the deer haven't gotten to them first. There are some really light pink ones in the front of my property right now that are still in bud form, so I don't think we'll be able to pick those for this purpose, but I will get a shot of them if I can for you guys. And I would love to try to make this cake as well, maybe not today, but on a future video, because I think this is so pretty. Okay, and since I did mention this earlier in our chat, I did want to grab it and give you a closer look at it. So the title is Cake from Lucie, and this is that baker that I mentioned is, I think she's out of New York City, and just absolutely stunning work. Very, very talented woman. And by the way, she has the most gorgeous Instagram account. I'll drop her handle in the description box of this video, but just look how stunning this cover is. Just look at how stunning this tablescape is, and I love how she decorates her cakes with flowers. I'm definitely inspired by it and would love to create something like this in the future for sure. Now, since we've started talking about cookbooks a little bit, I did want to bring up one other book that I just bought a couple of days ago, and that is this Baking and the Meaning of Life. Is that what this says? Yes. Baking and the Meaning of Life by Helen Go. And number one, I am a sucker for a beautiful cover, and this is stunning. And I have to admit that another big part of what drew me to this recipe book is this photo on the front cover of the, is it Madeline or Madeline cookies? I don't quite know, but I've always wanted to make these, and seeing this recipe book, I decided to pick it up honestly just for these. I'm sure that I will find many, many more recipes in this book. And I actually went ahead and ordered a Madeline, I'm just gonna say Madeline since I don't really know how to say it, so forgive me if I'm saying it wrong, pan. And I think we're gonna try that out in the next video. So this is another gorgeous one. If you guys really like just beautifully done recipe and baking books, also check this one out. Okay guys, apologies for not showing you a lot of footage of gathering these beautiful flowers. It is just way too rainy out there, and I did not want to compromise my camera, as I'm sure you can understand. So I have gathered off camera. We've got some Sarah Bernhardt peonies in addition to the original peonies that I brought up, and then we've also got some cosmos that you saw, as well as a couple of different variety of roses. We have the Windermere by David Austin, which is this beautiful kind of peachy cream colored rose. And then this one, I'm not 100% sure if this is Scepter d'Isle, if that's what that's called, or if it's Olivia Austin. And then I think this one is Alexandria of Kent. I'll have to double check to figure out what the varieties are and hopefully let you guys know in the description below. I also, for our pop of purple that's on the cover here, I gathered some salvia as well as some Walker's Low catmint from the garden. Okay, and because this cover has this vintage kind of pot, I went ahead and grabbed one of my antique English terracotta pots that I got from Etsy, and I figured this was the perfect vessel to do this arrangement in. And as always, you can see Rexy in his favorite spot back there in the video. He loves to lay right there, so he'll be hanging out with us while we do our flower arranging. Oh, maybe not actually. Oh, look at that stretch, big stretch. I feel like we've got similar enough flowers in terms of the color palette to create a similar looking arrangement to this. We'll add our flower frog. All right, so let's go ahead and start with placing the peonies first. Okay, so on this cover, I'm seeing very little green foliage included with the flowers, so I'm going to mostly strip the peonies of their leaves to put them in the pot. Okay, so we went ahead and did that off camera, and I am going to remove these smaller buds here from the stem as well. Okay, and in terms of the height, most of the flowers in the arrangement are pretty close to the pot, so we're going to give her a nice trim. And then it looks like next to the Sarah Bernhardt light pink peony, we have a white peony, which luckily for me, I do have several white peonies. So we're gonna grab one of those and place it beside the Sarah Bernhardt, just like the one here. And this one's actually a 2-in-1 situation, which is even better. I am actually going to separate both of these stems and put them in separately. Okay, so now we've got this large flower. I'm not really sure if this is a rose or a peony. It's more of a fuchsia color, which aligns with the fuchsia rose that we picked. So I'm going to use that. This rose has the most gorgeous fragrance. Okay, now because she's not as tall as the peony, I am going to put her a little bit off to the side like that instead of kind of in that central position that she's in the floral arrangement on the magazine, because obviously she's not tall enough to do that. Okay, so I think that's about all that we can strictly follow aside from when we're done putting the purple on one side and the back, but I think we're gonna go ahead and freestyle and just fill the pot up with the rest of the flowers that we collected. I love how peonies look when they're still sort of in this neatly cupped position like this just before they burst into bloom. So pretty. She's a little bit on the shorter side, so I'm just gonna have to lay her in there where she sort of fits in. I truly love David Austin roses so much. This one, Windermere here that I'm holding, is just stunning and has performed really well on our property here. All right, so now we've got all of our big flowers in, so let's go ahead and add in some of the smaller ones like the cosmos here. Oh no, that's so tragic. If you guys just saw that, I was trying to remove this little bud and I accidentally beheaded her. How sad. I'm gonna have to put her in like a shallow dish or something. Just look how gorgeous this is. Okay, now all that's left is to add our last finishing touch of purple. Okay, here's the final result. I'm so pleased with how this turned out. I feel like we did a pretty good job of kind of hitting the brief, getting it to look somewhat similar to this. I think overall it has a similar whimsical kind of feel, and I love peonies and roses, so this is like my dream arrangement. And I really love that pop of purple in there as well. All right, it's a new day today, and I'm happy to say that it is not pouring with rain, so we will be able to do a little bit of fun gathering for decorating what we're about to make. Lately, I've been craving some chocolate chip cookies, and I found a recipe on Instagram, as I typically do, from the account Iram's Food Story, and I will put their handle in the description box. They have a recipe out there for brown butter brookie cups, which basically look like these really satisfying fudgy and thick brownie cookie cups. And they are using tulip baking cups, which kind of gives that smoothed out appearance to the edges. So I wanted to see if I could create them because I do not have them on hand. So I found some instructions, and it suggests taking 6-inch squares of parchment paper, cutting some slits along each side, and then placing them into the baking pan. So I'm going to take my sheets of parchment paper that I have here in front of me. These are already pre-cut from the manufacturer. I'm going to fold them into 4 sections and then cut alongside and then make the slits and see if that will work. Okay, so I'm going to experiment with these 3 sheets. I'm going to first fold it long ways. Doesn't have to be perfect. And then I'm going to fold it the other way as well. Just make a gentle crease. And then because these sections are still a little bit more rectangular than what we're looking for, I'm going to just fold the very edge here as well to make them more of the square shape that we want. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and cut along the fold. And then we'll cut along this central fold as well. Okay, so here are our cut out parchment paper squares, and now we're just going to cut the slits along each side. Okay, so this is what we have. I didn't do the most even cuts as I'm a human and not perfect, of course, so hopefully this is good enough to get us the desired effect, but let's go ahead and insert them into the baking pan and see if they worked. Okay, so now we're supposed to just be able to press them into the pan and they should come together. It looks like they are doing what we want them to do. It's kind of hard to see because the baking pan is a little bit shallow. I think once we get some actual dough in there, it'll set down just fine, but it's not going to stay by itself for now. So we'll probably have to lay it down, put a scoop of the mixture, and then wrap them up. All right, we're ready to get started on the mixing part. So there's 2 layers. There's a cookie layer and a brownie layer. And it wants us to prepare the cookie layer first. And to do that, we need to mix flour and baking soda. And we need 1 1/4 cup of flour and then a 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. so now that we've mixed together the flour and the baking soda, it says to set this aside, and then we want to combine some melted butter, brown and granulated sugar, egg, and vanilla. It looks like we'll need about 1/2 cup of salted butter to melt, 1/2 cup of light brown sugar, 1/3 cup of granulated sugar, a large egg, and 1 tablespoon of vanilla paste. The butter is currently melting, and we're gonna go ahead and add in the vanilla extract. I did not have vanilla bean paste, so we'll have to use extract. And if you recall, this is the one that gave me problems last time pouring it in, so let's see if I can do a better job this time. Okay, so this bottle is just a little bit problematic, or I'm just not very good at pouring, which is probably the real reason, but oh well, we got it in. Okay, so now I'm adding in the 1/2 cup of light brown sugar, and then we have our 1/3 cup of granulated sugar. All right, and I'm just gonna pour in the melted butter directly from the pan here. The next step is to whisk this mixture until it's smooth and fluffy for about 2 to 3 minutes. As always, I'm incredibly unprepared and never stock appropriately for making these recipes and make them on the fly. So because of that, we have 2 different size baking morsels in here. We've got a smaller and a larger. So if you're wondering what that's about, that is why. And here comes the smaller ones. Texturally, it'll be very interesting. Okay, so the cookie batter is done, and now we want to work on the brownie layer, and to do that, I sadly only have this one mixing bowl, so I am going to transfer this batter out so that we can do the brownie mix next. For the first step of the brownie layer, we need to prepare the browned butter mixture, and we want to melt a cup of butter. It says in a saucepan over medium-low heat. I had just under a cup. Typical. Again, when am I ever prepared, but that's okay. We'll make it work. And it says you want to stir every 10 seconds until foamy for 6 to 8 minutes, and then continue until it turns golden brown and smells nutty. Okay, so our browned butter mixture is done. It has that rich, nutty smell that you want and that golden brown color to it. So now we want to add in 1/2 cup of cocoa powder, 1/3 cup of chocolate chips, 3 tablespoons of olive oil, and a tablespoon of our vanilla extract. Did much better that time. Look, I'm getting better. Okay, we're going to use the same approach as we did with the cookie batter by mixing this first and then folding in the chocolate chips. So this is sort of like the texture and consistency of a ganache. Okay, so we're going to put that off to the side for now. The next part says we want to whisk eggs and light brown sugar together for 5 to 6 minutes until dissolved. And we want 3 eggs and 1/2 cup of light brown sugar. Next, the recipe says to add in the cooled brown butter mixture. Okay, so now we need to add in 1/2 cup of flour and 3/4 cups of chocolate chips. And this is important. It says to mix it until just combined and not to overmix. We've made it to the assembly part. I've got the cookie dough mix and the brownie mix off to the right hand side. I've brought over the muffin pan as well as our liners that we created. And so I'm gonna go ahead and test out the method here of just putting a little dollop of the cookie dough onto the liner to see if it'll hold it. The recipe says to alternate the layers. I think we want kind of a patchwork dessert, if you will, of brownie and cookie dough. So let's give it a go. Okay, so far so good. I think the tulip liner so far turned out pretty okay. I did put, I think, a little bit too much cookie dough in the initial layer, so I'm going to move on to the brownie batter here, and then we will see how much we have left. As you can see, there was a little bit of a learning curve for me with that first one I tried to make back there that looks very messy. I think realistically it would have been better to have the liners be a little bit smaller so that I wouldn't have so much overhang, but it's not going to affect the taste, so what do I care? And I'm noticing we have a lot more brownie batter than we do cookie, so we might just want to make all of these last 4 just brownie, but let's see. I can already tell they're not going to look the prettiest, but from the smell and the texture, I think they're going to taste amazing. So let's go ahead and complete the final 4. We're making a mess again. It's stuck to the liner. She was so pretty and now she's just a gooey mess. I try to be a neat person, guys, but just can't fight nature. Okay, screw it. We're gonna double dip a little bit and use the cookie scooper for the brownie mix. I think it's gonna be cleaner. Wish I would have done that starting off, but note for next time. Oh yeah, this is much, much easier. Look at how much cleaner and easier that was. Not much cookie dough left. And now we're turning it into sort of a cookie dough brownie blend, given that I'm double dipping, but it's fine. All right, that's all we have left of the cookie dough. But we have plenty of brownie mix, so I am going to just load this up. Execution is definitely lacking, but I think the flavor is gonna be phenomenal. This is what happens when you're a total amateur baker trying to make aesthetic content. Forgive me, guys. Okay, let's put these little disasters in the oven now. So they have to be cooked at 350 for 25 to 30 minutes. And these do need a long cooling time of 2 to 3 hours. So we will see how they turn out. All right, so they've been cooling down for about 2 hours now. The recipe recommended a cool down time of 2 to 3 hours, but 3 hours is just a little bit too long, so I think they're good now. And you'll notice there's one missing. My husband actually tried them and said they were really good. And I did sneak a taste of the brownie because I cooked a separate pan of brownie since I had so much leftover batter, and it was so good. So let's go ahead and unwrap them and do some decorating. These actually came out looking a lot neater than I thought they were going to look when we were first pouring them in. I thought they were going to be really messy, but as they cooked, they sort of melded together better, so they're looking pretty good. Okay, and I'm going to leave these last 3 in the pan to cool for a little bit longer because those were more brownie than cookie. So we will go ahead and start decorating these. Texturally, these came out perfect. The brownie has that really nice flaky crackle to it. As always, I'm going to go ahead and add a light layer of powdered sugar to the top. And next, I'm going to add on some dried rose petals. Okay, and now for the very final step, let's go ahead and take a walk outside and see if we can find any freshly bloomed roses or rosebuds to decorate with. Alright, so we're back inside from gathering some lovely flowers. We didn't have too many roses in bloom at the moment, and I didn't want to remove the buds because that hurts my soul. So I did gather 2 roses, and one is my favorite rose variety, which is the Harlow Carr Rose by David Austin. The most gorgeous, sort of vintagey, fluffy, fragrant rose, truly beautiful. And then this showstopper, which is Carding Mill by David Austin, gorgeous. And then of course, as you saw, here are some of the cosmos that we gathered. Alright, so we didn't quite have enough flowers to decorate every dessert that we plated, but I think this came out really lovely.